Can you see me? Because I'm home now, and I don't know if the connection is as it used to be. So, can you hear me? Great. Okay. So I don't mind if you keep your microphones on, because I will ask some questions. I will ask you to repeat what I said, so I can make sure that everything went well. So I don't think that I met all of you. I think Sham was here last time. I think Rosanna was here, Barbara. I don't know about the others because I can't see their faces. Okay. So Carmela, I saw you last time. Marielle, I saw last time. So I think that I should introduce myself again. So I'm Abdallah. I'm from Jordan. I'm studying to be a priest for the Latin Patriarchate of Jerusalem. I'm in my second year of theology. So keep me in your prayers, and that's it. So let's start. Okay. So today we're gonna talk about the Gospel of Saint John. Okay. But like, I want to hear from you first. What do you know about the Gospel of Saint John? Does anybody want to share anything about it? Okay, no one. Okay, so I'll start. So when we read something that somebody wrote, the first step to know what is about all this book or this page or anything, we should know who wrote this page, or who wrote this book, or who wrote this thing. So in this case, we should know who wrote this gospel. Who wrote this gospel? The disciple that Jesus loved. That's the only thing that we know. The tradition says that the disciple that Jesus loved was Saint John. So what the tradition tells us is that Saint John, who was with Jesus for at least 3 years, is the one who wrote this gospel. So this is the first thing that we should know about this gospel. Who wrote this? I read something very quickly. Okay, Carmela said it's a gospel, so it mirrors the Torah. Great. Oh my God, I'm happy that somebody remembers something I said last time. Thank you. So, who was the writer of this gospel? It's Saint John the Evangelist, or he's as known as Saint John, son of Zebedee. So his brother was Jacob or James. I don't know what you call it in English. It depends on translation, but don't worry. And why was it wrote? The thing is that it's very clear. Saint John made it clear in his gospel. In John 20:31, he says, "This gospel was written to you so you may come to believe that Jesus is the Messiah, and that by believing you may have life in his name." So if we read this biblical verse in his gospel, we would find 3 steps to get deeper into the life with Jesus. The first one is knowing that Jesus Christ is the Messiah. So what we are doing now, the studies that we do, is the first step to know who Jesus is, and it helps us. So the second step is, the first step is knowing, the second step is believing. So it's the orthodoxy, like what we believe in. It should be the faith of the church. And the third part is living. So it's orthopraxis. So it's the good practice that we do with our faith. So what is the first one? What is the first one?
Knowing.
Knowing. Believing and living. So don't you ever tell me that you can live without believing, and you can't believe without knowing. If you just believe without knowing, it's like it's gonna be very fragile faith, that Jesus said that it's like a house that was built on the sand. So whenever the storm comes, everything would get ruined. So knowing is really important. The knowledge is really important. After that, believing. After believing, we should practice. Otherwise, it's not real belief. Okay? If our faith does not lead us to a good action, it's not real faith. Okay? So I don't know if you like this, but in this study we will study the structure of the Bible, okay? Of the Gospel of Saint John. And maybe some of you would think that it's something like very boring, but wait for it. You will discover that it's really good, okay? So for me, I like to, whenever I get anything, I just like to know what is inside it, okay? So I don't know, like it's my MO, and I try to use this to study as well. So whenever I get something, have you ever, what do you call it, the pomegranate, the thing that you open, the fruit that you open, you eat each seed by itself? Pomegranate it's called, right? Pomegranate, yeah. Thank you. So for me, studying each gospel is just like eating a pomegranate. So you open it, you try to figure out each part of it. And by figuring out each part of it, you can understand what it's all about. Okay? So by studying the Gospel of John, Barbara asked me to do something like it's talking about the feast, Jewish feasts, and the institutions, and John the Baptist, and all this stuff. So when we study the Gospel of John, like he's amazing. He maybe knew what Barbara wanted now, and he just wrote his Bible in this way. So I'm gonna share a picture with you. I don't know if it's possible. Okay, files. Okay, let me do it this way. Yeah, I'll talk about the Feast of Tabernacles. So let me open this picture first. I tried to make it as quick as possible. So I hope it, okay, how can we do this? Okay, let's do it this way. Okay. Okay, so share, not screen, I don't know. Does anybody know how can I share a picture?
You need to go on the bottom of the
Yeah,
screen and
share
click
screen.
share screen.
I opened it, but it says that it's, I don't know. It doesn't say that I can share this picture.
Maybe because I'm not the host here.
You have to, Abdallah, you have to go to the
Yes.
setting, because there's a setting. You have to
Okay.
click the setting so that you can share to all of us.
Okay, no, it does not even show up, No, not this one.
Ah, now it's working.
No, it worked, but not the file I wanted. So let me do something. I can take this picture and put it in a PowerPoint file, so I can share it. I can share the PowerPoint file with you. Is it okay?
Yep.
I'll try to do it. I hope it works. Paste. Yeah, it worked. So let's try share screen. Does it? Okay. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I tried to make it like. Wait a minute. Okay. I tried to make it as simple as possible and tried to find nice pictures so you can at least understand through pictures, because it helped me a lot. So let's do it. So I don't know, is there a cursor or something? Yeah, here it is. Okay, so the Gospel of St. John is made of 21 chapters, okay? The first chapter is an introduction. So we can see this is the introduction, chapter 1. After that, we can see that there are two separate, like when you see the pictures here, the part of the pictures here and another part with pictures here. Okay, so the first part is called it's called the Book of Signs. Okay, after that we have a break, and after that we have a book of teaching. At the end there is like an epilogue. Okay, so the first thing, there's an introduction. After that we have the books. We have the Book of Signs, chapters 2 to 10. After that, chapters 11 to 12 is the resurrection of Lazarus, and the book of teachings, chapters 13 to 17, and epilogue is chapter 21. Is it clear? I don't know, because I made it really quick. If not, I can repeat what I just said. I will go part by part, okay? Is it clear? Okay, it's clear.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. Okay, so as we said, there are 21 chapters, and they are divided in two major books or two major parts. The first book is called the Book of Sign, and the second book is called the Book of Teachings. Great, great. So let me talk about the introduction, and here I can address the issue of Saint John the Baptist. So the introduction is a poem, as we all know. So it says, in the beginning, there was God, there was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God, okay? So he made it clear that in the beginning, God became human. No, in the beginning, God is God, the Word was with God, and now God became human. Jesus that I'm telling you about, he is God, and he is with God, and he came to the Word. Okay, so now we're talking about the Word of God. So Saint John is really brilliant. He talks about the Word, and after that he talks about the voice. And who is the voice? The voice. Who's the voice? Open your mics. Who is the voice?
Jesus.
No, this is the
No?
Word. Who is the voice?
Saint John the Baptist.
Yeah, he's Saint John. It's he made it clear. He said Jesus is the Word of God, and after that he says there was a voice in the desert, and this voice is John the Baptist. Look, he's really brilliant. He was like a fisherman, but believe me, he was really brilliant. Like we spent the whole semester studying this gospel, so believe me, he was brilliant. Okay, so in the beginning he talks about the Word of God, and after that he talks about the voice. So the voice, as we know now, is Saint John the Baptist. So does anybody know anything about Saint John the Baptist? I don't like to talk by myself. Can anybody help me with that?
He prepared the way for Jesus.
Sorry, I can see everybody. I'm sorry. So who just talked? Sorry.
Hi, it's Carrie Shea.
Yeah,
I said he prepared the way for Jesus.
yeah. Any personal information you know about him? Like how old was
Um,
he? Does anybody know anything about it?
I know he was the cousin of Jesus, a few months
Okay.
older, if I'm not
Uh-huh.
mistaken, the child of Elizabeth, and yeah, I know the first kind of interaction they had was in the womb when Mary went to visit Elizabeth, and John
Nice.
he kicked in the womb, and that was kind of like the first connection.
Yeah, so he seems like someone who lived in Ankara by that time. He knows everything about this family. So tell me about what happened after he grew up. Does anybody know anything? Or
he is
some
a,
theories, but there's
I,
something.
um,
Yeah,
I
Sham.
think he's a hermit, and
Kind of. Yeah.
he become like something like weird by the Jews because he went to the desert and shouting like different teaching than the been teach by the Pharisees. So
Okay.
people say that he is a crazy man who waiting
So
for Messiah to come.
nice. So he was waiting for the Messiah, and at the same time he was preparing the way for the Messiah. So he did something really weird by that time because look, I'm not waiting for somebody in the desert who's wearing something weird, who eats like some insects, and now he's telling me that the Messiah is coming. Like, why would I believe that? For me, as a priest in the temple, why would I believe that? I'm studying all the books, I'm studying everything, I know everything about God, and now this man, this poor man who's living in the desert, is telling me who the Christ is, who's the Messiah is. It's something really weird for the Jews by that time. So some theory says that John the Baptist was he belonged to like a community. It was called the Essenians. Okay, they lived near the River Jordan, and they had something like they were like hermits. Okay, like just you said, and they had their own style of life, and God used this group to introduce the way of his son, Jesus Christ, to come to this world. So, we are done with the introduction now. Introduction is, we can say, like it's like, let's say it's like a claim, okay? Introduction claims that Jesus Christ, the one who lived with us, is the Messiah. So, if he's saying that, he tries to make it clear that if we are talking about that Jesus Christ is the Messiah, this is the claim, all the following books are the proof that this claim is right. So let's do it again. I'm doing all the lines that I drew so we can go part by part. So the first part, you see the big part here with big pictures. All this part is called the book of what? Okay, it's written, but can anybody tell me it's the book of what?
Book of Signs.
Yeah,
Book
you
of
can read. Thank you. Okay, so it's called the Book of Signs. Does anybody know? Oh, I will tell you because you will turn the mics off and you will pretend that you did not hear me. Okay, so I will tell you why does he call it the Book of Signs. St. John, he says, as I said before, he has a claim. The claim is Jesus is the Messiah. So he says, look, if I'm giving you a proof, look, let's do it. So let's say, what is inside this glass? I'm claiming that it's water, okay? If I give it to you and you drank, I give you a proof, so you don't have any option to believe or not, right? You should believe that it's water, okay? But St. John is really smart. He said, look, if you want to believe, you're free to believe or not. I'm giving you the message. So I'm not calling it a proof because it's not a proof, because if it's a proof, I'm forcing you to believe. But I'm giving you signs that Jesus Christ is the Messiah, so I can give this sign to you and you can choose either to believe or not. And this is the great thing about St. John. He gave signs, he does not give proofs. So, what is the first sign? Okay, I'm trying to hide, but it's really clear. What is the first sign Jesus did? It was the wedding feast of Cana. And today there was a celebration there, and it was really nice. You can look at the pictures after we're done with this, but the wedding feast of Cana, okay? Why I'm talking about this? Like, why I'm talking about all these structures and pretending that I'm going to talk about the Jewish society in the time of Jesus, as Barbara told me. So let's look at this book of signs. We have two parts, okay? We can see the 4 locations and the 4 occasions. The 4 locations we see now, the first one is the wedding feast of Cana. The second one is the temple. The third one is in the house with Nicodemus. And the fourth location is in Samaria. Now we're like, we're talking about like 4 locations, but we are talking at the same time about all the Jewish society. So let's talk about the wedding feast of Cana. I know that you know what happened there, but through this location or through this wedding, I'm gonna talk about the Jewish lay people by that time. So who were the Jews at this time? I can make, like, if you read history, it's really easy to say that everyone were the same, but they were not. And we can know by the words of Jesus and the teachings of Jesus by that time, and also if we read all the Jewish books by that time, we can see that people were not really like as we believe the Jews they were. They were not really very, very zealous. They were not true believers. They had their own mistakes, just like us today. So they were really normal. We're talking about like the normal Jews by that time who had their own jobs. They had their own families. They did not spend all the time in the temple as we can imagine. They went to the temple sometimes to the synagogues to pray, but they were not really like as we imagine them and we can see them in the movies or read about them in books or something. So the Jewish lay people by that time, they were just normal. What did they believe in? They believed in what any Jew believed today also. They believed in the 5 books of Moses, and they also believed in all the other scriptures. They also believed in all the prophets, and they were waiting for the Messiah. But what kind of waiting was that? We can imagine that all of them were sitting on their windows waiting for the Christ to come, or they were praying at their houses. No, no, it was really normal. They were waiting for the Christ, and there were a lot of perspectives about who is this Christ and what is his God coming to do. And a lot of people were thinking that Jesus Christ is coming to liberate us from the Romans. Speaking about the Romans, let's talk about history. Does anybody like history here? No, I can see your faces. Okay, Shem is the only happy one. Andrea is smiling. Okay, Marielle is smiling. So others does not like history. Me too, me too. Okay, so let's talk about history. So we know that there was the kingdom of Israel, and at a time they were separated. There were the kingdom of Judea. It was in the middle. And there was the kingdom of the north. It's not the kingdom of the north of Game of Thrones, but it was the kingdom of the north in Judea, okay? The kingdom for the Jews. By that time, what happened is that they mixed with other cultures, a lot of problems happened, and after that, in the year 333 before Christ, the Greeks entered the Middle East and they took Palestine. And by that time, what happened? They took the kingdom of Israel. There's no more kingdom of Israel. By that time, the Greeks were really smart. They said, okay, look, we can conquer these people, but we can keep them for us, okay? There will come a time that we lose, and we'll lose them. So let's start with the brilliant thing that we should do, which is teach them how to be Greeks. So they forced the Greek language. They also forced the Greek worship, and they tried to force all this stuff in the kingdom of Israel, but we can read in the book of Maccabees that they were not able to do that because there was a revolution against them and they lost. They conquered the country, but they were not able to apply all these things that they wanted to do. In the year 63 BC, the Romans came, and because I said before that the Greeks were really smart, what happened is that when the Romans came, they were not able to force their culture because the Greek culture was already there. Also, some of them, they used to speak Hebrew by that time. Also, they speak Aramaic as a street language. And now we're talking about a very mixed culture. They used to speak Hebrew, maybe in the temple, also Aramaic between them, and also some of them knew Greek. So we're talking about like a very intellectual culture, even without knowing that. They were born speaking 3 languages without even knowing that. And by knowing all these languages, they were able to interact with more cultures and to know more stuff about this. These are the Jewish lay people. This is the first thing that we already talked about. Okay. The second location is the temple. What happened in temple, or what is happening in the temple? In the temple, we can find the high priest and the priest in general, and there were the people who serve the altar, who serve the temple, and there are like a tribe of Israel who are consecrated to serve this. There was nothing called like a vocation to the priesthood because you were born in a priestly family and you just become a priest. So that is what is about the priesthood, the Jewish priesthood. The second thing that we can find in the temple are the Pharisees. So does anybody know anything about the Pharisees? Because I think that you start sleeping and I'm a little bit boring. So can anybody tell me about anything about the Pharisees? What do you know about the Pharisees? Besides that they did not like Jesus, okay?
They are the keeper of the law.
Kind of, but like where are they? Like, are they like something official? It's like a movement. What do you know about them?
They are academic here. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. Does anybody know any? It's good. Does anybody know anything about like why, what do they believe in?
I don't remember exactly, but there were the Sadducees and the Pharisees, right?
Yeah.
And one believed that there was life after death, something like that.
Yeah.
And the others did not believe in the life after death. I don't know. I'm
Okay.
not sure.
Spoiler alert. I'm gonna talk about the Sadducees now. So the Pharisees, they were, as Barbara said, they were the ones who believed in everything written in the Bible. They believed in it. They tried, as Sham said, to protect the law because look, the people are forgetting everything about the law, about God, and it's not really, doesn't make any sense because the Christ may come at any time, and we are not ready for that. And as we know, by the time of Jesus, they were not really good at this because while trying to keep the law, they only protected the law. They did not protect the people of God to live the law. So that was their mistake, and they were not able to maintain their goal. The second group, as Barbara said, are the citizens. And these people are the ones who did not believe in the after death. They only believe that our, like what we do of good and bad, we will get its reward in our lives. So if someone died in a tragic way, tragic way, it means that he was a sinner and God sent this punishment because there's nothing called afterlife. So how can we get the reward of what we're doing? It's by this life. So if someone lived like 100 years and after that he died, he said, okay, that was a good man. That's how they believe. So, and Jesus was against this belief, and he made it clear. And also St. Paul, when he was in the council with the Pharisees and Sadducees, he said, look, I believe in the afterlife. If you don't want that, it's your problem. And after that, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they had their own like fight. And after that, St. Paul left the council. So these are the three main groups, and we can read about a fourth group, which are the zealots. Okay, and as we can maybe know that Judas, the one who betrayed Jesus, was one of them. What did they believe in? They believed that the Christ who's coming is the one who's gonna liberate us from the Romans. So the Christ who is coming, he's the one who's gonna be a fighter, a warrior, and he's gonna liberate us. And Jesus made it clear many times that, look, if I came to liberate you from the Romans, you can find like a better warrior than me. Okay? I came to liberate you from something which is much worse than the Romans. The Romans are not a good thing by that time. They were like really bad. They took money from the people. They killed a lot of people. And Jesus said like, look, this thing that you see daily is really bad, but I'm coming to liberate you from something worse, which are your sins. So Jesus made it clear that, look, zealots, it's not the right thing to do. Maybe you want to be liberated, okay? But I'm not forcing you. You're not forcing your beliefs on me, because if I'm the Christ, I'm not going to liberate you from the Romans. It's kind of like a message for us to not to mix all these things together. Jesus came to liberate us from sins. Don't project other stuff on him. Okay, so the third place, or the third location we're going to talk about, is the house, as the gospel says. So what is the house? There's a story in the Bible. There was a rabbi who came to Jesus one day asking him about, look, I think that you're a good rabbi, you're a good teacher, and I want to learn from you. And he was really old, like he was really old man. So he asked him, like, what should I do to have like the eternal life that you're talking about? And he said, you should be born again. Now we're talking about, like, if we make like a recap for everything, in the first location we met lay people. In the second location we met the priests, the Pharisees, the Zealots, the Sadducees, and in the third location we met a rabbi who is a teacher of the law. He should not be a Pharisee. He's a teacher of the law. He's someone who gives the interpretation of the scriptures they have. So the third location is really like quick. The fourth one is Samaria. Okay, now I need your insights about that. What do you know about Samaria? Okay, we know that there is a problem between the Samaritans and the Jews, but why do we have this problem? Does anybody know? Like, they just don't like each other? Does anybody know anything about it?
Where people should worship.
Yeah, so do you know where the discussion were? Like, where should they worship? Like, the Jews, where did they worship?
There was the temple or
Where?
Jerusalem,
Okay, what about
And-
the Samaritans?
the mountain.
Yeah, the mountain. What is the name of the mountain? You went, you know everything. So the mountain is called Mount Gerizim. I don't know in English exactly, but I'm trying to like pronounce it as it's pronounced in Arabic. So does anybody know the source of the problem? Yeah, one of them is the where should we worship? But what about like other stuff? Like, okay, we can make a discussion like let's worship like 2 days a week in Mount Gerizim and 2 days a week in Jerusalem, and after that we can do whatever we want. Like it's kind of a problem, but it's not really like convincing. Do you know anything about like what is the real source of this problem? Okay, let me tell you, it's in the Bible. Okay, so I'm sorry, I tried to put the papers here. So Jesus met with a Samaritan woman, and the Bible made it clear that there were enemies, and Jesus was not allowed to talk to her. First of all, because she was a lonely woman in the middle of the day, going to the well, and she was Samaritan. The problem historically, as I said before, there were two kingdoms, okay? After the separation between the two kingdoms, the kingdom of Judea, the kingdom of the north, and the Assyrians came to the kingdom of the north, and they, instead of like, besides taking all these people their home, like taking them out of their lands, they sent more people to live with them. And we know for the Jews, purity is really important. So what happened is that they mixed with another people. They mixed the worship, they mixed the culture, they mixed the race. And whoa, that's a big problem. Look, people of the north, you betrayed God by doing this. This was the belief of the Jews by that time in the kingdom of Judea. So they looked at the people who were in the kingdom of the north, that they were sinners because they betrayed God, they betrayed the race, they betrayed the culture, they did everything. And after that, the Babylonians came, but not to the kingdom of the north. They came to the kingdom of Judea, and they destroyed the temple, and they took the people to the exile. So what happened is that, what should we do? So after that, we know that they returned after the exile, and what happened is that they tried to build a temple. But in the book of Ezra and Nehemiah, we can say something that the books like talk about it really clearly. That is, when the Samaritans came to help the Jews rebuilding the temple, the Jews refused. Why? Because they thought that they were not pure, and after that, problems started. There were some problems before, but this was like the thing that make all the problems got bigger. And after that, what happened is that, as you said, Carmela, is that they had a discussion about where should we worship. You believe that you should worship in Jerusalem, but we say that we should worship here on this mountain, which is the mountain of Gerizim. So this is the case, that they were like, there were all Jews, but there were like some problems between them. And the Jews, they did not believe that the Samaritans are real Jews. They thought that they are impure, and Now there are some Samaritans. There are still some Samaritans in Nablus. I don't know if anybody who visited the Holy Land before. I don't know about you, Barbara. Have you ever visited the Samaritans in Nablus?
I went to the house where Jesus, the church where Jesus gave water, but
Yeah.
I don't know. There is a specific community.
No, it's
right?
Samaria. It's yeah. You can go to if anybody of you would ever come to the Holy Land. There's like a village in Nablus. It's called Samaria now, and they believe that they are the real Jews because the Jews now are mostly Europeans. Okay, all these problems I don't want to discuss now, but they believe that they are the real Jews. So you can go there. You can see how they live their culture. You can, you can Google it. There are some videos on YouTube that you can look for. They are very interesting. You can read about them. Okay, so let's go to, okay, before I go to the second part of the second book, of the first book, does anybody have any questions or something? Or anything you should tell me that I'm speaking really quickly or my voice is not clear or something?
Abdallah, the Samaritans were a type of like more like poorer class.
It's not a thing because they lived in another, like in other part of the kingdom. We can say that they were like poor because some of them were poor, the others were rich. It depends. Like they were a full society, like a complete society. I don't think that we can judge it this way. Any questions?
How do you spell the place with the real Jews that you said? The Samaritans and Nablus?
Yes, Samaria. They call it Samaria. It's in a city called Nablus. That's what you're asking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, Nablus. Nablus.
Ah, Nablus. Okay. Ah, thank you.
Yeah. We'll do just like the last time. I will send all these papers to Barbara and she will send it to you. I don't know if you're interested. This time I made my handwriting much better so you can like read better. Okay, so we finished the first part of the the first part of the first book. And now we're going to the second part of the first book, which are the 4 occasions, which are the chapters from 5 to 10. And here we can meet 4 nice Jewish occasions by that time. And I will try to make it really simple. I don't want to talk about history because it makes me like also bored, I know. So let's do it. So we're talking about 4 occasions. Since I did not tell you about it, can anybody guess what these 4 occasions are? From the pictures. Like, what about this one? This is picture number 1. What do you think it is? Or number 2? Okay, let's talk about number 2 because number 1 is like, it's not really clear. At least number 2, number 4. Does anybody know anything about these occasions?
Easter.
Yeah, the second picture, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Jewish Easter, the Passover, Pesach. What about the 4th one? Can anybody guess with these like Hanukkah? Okay. Does anybody know? Okay, I will not ask this question now. I'll ask it when I come to this Hanukkah. But let's talk about the first picture. The first picture is the picture of, like, I tried to find a picture of a Sabbath. The first thing that happened in this part of the book is the Sabbath. And we know how the Sabbath was like really sacred for the Jews. Jesus healed a paralyzed man on this day. Ooh, Jesus did something really good. Not at the eyes of the Jews by that time because they were thinking that he's sinning, he's doing some blasphemies, and he's healing a person in the Sabbath. So what is sacred about the Sabbath? What is sacred about the Sabbath is that from the story of the creation, we can see that God created the world in 6 days, and the 7th day, he rested. So the Jewish people believe that they should rest on this day because our mission or our vocation in our lives is to be just like God. That's what God wanted us to be. That's why God became human, because he wanted us to be like him. And that's the point of making this day sacred. But sometimes, when we have a rule that we should follow, sometimes we misunderstand this rule and we do just like what the Pharisees did but by that time. So Jesus made it clear on that day that, look, you are not allowed to work. I understand that. You have like some limited steps to walk. I understand that. You cannot cook. You cannot do any productive action. I understand that. But please understand also that the Sabbath is what was made for you, for the human beings. It was not made for anything else. It was made for you. You rest because you deserve it. You rest because you have to be like God, okay? So that's why Jesus made it clear that the Sabbath is really important, but the human is more important. So the second part that Shamgast is the Passover. What is the Passover? As everybody knows, is the Jewish Easter, which is the day when God led the people of Israel from Egypt to the Promised Land with Moses. Okay, this celebration was mentioned in the Gospel of John. The third feast, or the third occasion, was the Day of Tabernacles, the Sukkot, which is the day it's a 7-day celebration. That it's a day where they believe they live in tents made of fruits and something, and they do not live inside of their houses. They live outside. It's a reminder of their exile and of their exodus from Egypt. And on this day, Jesus announced that he is the light of the world. The fourth part, or the fourth occasion, which is the dedication of the temple, which is called the Hanukkah. It's a story that we cannot find in the Bible, but it's like a traditional feast that the Jews celebrate. They made a temple holy again in this day. What do we mean by that? Because when the Greeks came, you remember I was talking about the Greeks came and they tried to force their culture. So there was a king who put idols in the temple and he slaughters pigs inside. So it's very disrespectful for the temple. So on this day, when the Greeks went out, the Jews did something, which is that they went back to the temple, they purified it, and there was this menorah, this candle inside the temple. And why this is a sign of this feast? Because the Hanukkah is the day where the Jews left some oil that it's not enough for the 8 days to remain with the candle. But what happened is the miracle that made these candles lit for 8 days without any problem. So this is the miracle that they celebrate by that time. And on this day, Jesus announced that he is the true temple. So since I don't have time, there are some few other stuff, but you can read it in the papers that I will send, but it's not gonna be, because I'm gonna talk about the second book. You can read it, you can understand it, but are there any questions of the first part of the Gospel of John? Any questions?
The Feast of Tabernacles
Yeah.
was to remember Passover.
Yeah, it's kind of remembering Passover, but it's let me make it clear, because they celebrate or they remember Passover, but not the action on itself. They remember that God was leading them. So you remember in the book of Exodus, the fire and the cloud that guided them, and every day they were living in tents and they stopped. Okay, so what we celebrate on the Day of Tabernacles is that God is guiding his people. That's what they celebrate, because celebrating Passover is Passover, or remembering Passover is Passover.
Abdallah, I believe in another occasion we can have this extra meeting with you, an extra meeting with you, so that you can
I'm sorry,
finish.
I did not pay attention for the time. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I think we could even ask everyone if we could go further, but I think as it is lots of information and not to make it heavy, I think
Yeah.
it would be good to stop too. At least for me, it's a great richness to listen and to go deeper. I'm also learning here and writing everything because I didn't have much opportunity during my time in prayer groups to go to the Bible study formation in this way. So it's been really good, and I believe all of us have been sharing this. Yeah, we are like in the book of signs, right? Yeah, we are around the 8th chapter. This week we are going to the 9th. So I think next Sunday we will have a different person, but then if you have time, I would be inviting you to.
Just let me know and I'm ready.
Okay,
Thank
great. And some people needed to leave because they needed to go to mass. But they asked me to send the link of the preaching so that they can have the access for
Great.
watching the. So I will stop now because I'm speaking.